Salut din nou, suntem aici alături de James Harding, care sunt sigură că nu are nevoie de o introducere, dar cred că o să-i facem oricum. Hello James, thank you for joining us.
Hi, yeah, no problem, I'm here, so ready for my interview.
Okay, so I think the most important question to start with is, did you enjoy your first Romanian beer?
By the time I got to my first Romanian beer, I went through about 10 Romanian whiskies. So I don't really remember. I would have to ask my colleagues, but I presume it was very good.
You've described yourself in a previous interview as a player, a manager, and a bullshitter. Could you please detail a little something about each of these designations, especially the third one?
Well, actually, the third one really does dictate the other two, as they are bullshit. I've never really been a good player or a manager, just excelling in bullshit. But you know, I've been involved in esports, I guess, for a long time, and I've done a lot of different jobs, from playing to managing to bullshitting, and bullshitting's the one that pays off the best.
What exactly brought you here to DreamHack Bucharest?
We manage Twitch TV Europe, the team of guys that I have over in Stockholm. So we're responsible for looking after the players with the Players Lounge, making sure that they have snacks and drinks and some available PCs that they can either check their Twitters on or practice. And we also bring in Martin the Masseur, who also works on the players and makes sure that they're healthy and can game for the duration of the tournament without any problems or pains in their arms, etc. So literally, yeah, just making sure everyone's who uses Twitch TV is happy, and we also support DreamHack with their streaming solution and make sure that's all running as well. So we're a small team, but we look after a lot of people.
So you had a start in your gaming career quite early. Tell me, what is different about being a gamer in 2004, 2005, 2006, as opposed to being a gamer today?
A lot less blowjobs back when I did it. You couldn't get any attention. But now, as far as I can tell, it's not me personally from experience, just TLO bragging. It's apparently it's easy now. So the fame has gone up, and the prize money's gone up, and the exposure and the fans have all grown, and it's really become a bigger industry. I guess when we did it a long time ago, they still do it for the passion, but we only really had passion to go by, the passion of competing against other people and meeting similar-minded people within gaming, and that was really what brought us all together. It was our hobby, and that's all we really wanted it to be, and it's amazing that it's grown this far.
So basically, when you kids were starting out, it was more of an interesting hobby / eccentricity, whereas now you're basically superstars if you're successful.
Yeah, some of them can be superstars, I guess. I guess the easiest rock star you could name is Stefano. He's popular with all people of all ages, it turns out. And yeah, so you can really do something with either your brand or the brand of esports and make either just a normal living in terms of what is a normal salary, but then you can also go much higher than that with some of the endorsements and salaries now.
Speaking of Stefano, I haven't really had a chance to talk to anybody about this, but he was recently involved in a little scandal. So what I would like to ask you is, do you think with the possibility of having superstar gamers, do we also have gamer divas?
Yeah, I guess. I'm not sure if if Stefano is more of a diva, more on the rock star. I mean, basically he just hit on my younger sister, and she's a bit of a slut, so I don't blame him.
Okay, interesting. So obviously you've been doing this for years. I'm curious, what are your thoughts when you come to a place like Romania? Do you still get surprised easily by how quickly this phenomenon has spread and where it has spread to, or is it run-of-the-mill normal by now?
I always knew Romania is really big in Counter-Strike 1.6, so I wasn't surprised that they had a large kind of internet cafe scene as well as some of their own tournaments over here. So that didn't surprise me coming over to Romania, that we had that kind of enough people turning up, because it's a sold-out event. I was surprised that they've moved on to the newer games. It does seem that a lot of people, even at my hotel, the concierge apparently was coming down to watch some StarCraft 2. So it's more the success, I guess, of the big game developers and publishers that have the reach to come over here in a good way. Because Counter-Strike became popular because it just was a great game, and you had to really go and find it in so many ways. But now there's so much more connectivity in esports, as it's much more of a global phenomenon, that it doesn't surprise me at all that the success of a game in one country is also successful in another. So it's just nice to see that they get Romania gets an amazing event, really, and this is the first one that DreamHack have put on, and I'm sure they'll be back for more, because I think they've already had great success with the audience, and I think everyone's really appreciated it.
We've already talked to Trans from the 2GDStudio, and something that I personally am taking away from DreamHack Bucharest is the importance of media production and the importance of the people who are not necessarily gamers but are very important to the organization of gaming events. How important is it for you to have a good team behind you, and what can you tell us about your team in Stockholm?
He's just over there, by the way. He's behind you, right? Trans. Well, let's start with someone else. Well, within esports, it's quite weird, because esports is such a passionate place for people to want to work in, that it actually there's a small percent that really kind of go the whole way. As in, they don't just take it as something which is gaming; they take it as treat it as a job. And there's a lot of people that have also come in outside that have TV skills, media production skills, and they've been able to do really good stuff with us as well. So when I select people within esports to work with me, the main focus for me is to surround myself with people who are like better than me in different areas. And that's what DreamHack do as well. They're a very small crew, and they might have one of the best organizers, and he needs to work with someone who is pretty much, best in terms of video production, and you just need to make sure that you've got a really good specialized person in that area to excel, because if you want to get big in esports, you have to esports is probably one of the fastest moving industries in terms of keeping up with the entertainment, keeping up with what your audience wants, and so you need to have people that want to constantly push their jobs and push what they bring out. So Trans, he's our engine. He's gone now. He's legged it. He didn't want to hear it.
Like Batman. Like Batman.
Yeah. Trans is you can call him the engine of the 2GDStudio. So everything I come up with and design and I give to him, he'll make sure it will work and it will run with all the other people around. Apollo is obviously someone that I brought in very early. He wasn't really known, and then gave him a lot of face time, and he's become one of the best StarCraft 2 commentators. And then we have a few more people that we have at the studio that are just new to esports, and they're just coming up and hopefully be doing more Dota 2. And Semler's just a sack of shit, really. But you need one to make everyone else look better, which is why he's there, as far as I can tell. And yeah, we're actually, the 2GDStudio will grow. We're going to be employing 2 new people before the end of the year, so we're going to be doing more content. And it's just, as I said, it's important to get people with passion and drive and people that want to push the industry forward, because the great thing about esports is there's no formula to success. Like if you want to work in a mainstream job or marketing or banking, someone's got the formula, and you're to carry the formula out in terms of how to make your brand successful. And with esports, everyone's working on their own formula, and they can all, in different ways, they can be successful. But that's the most interesting thing. So when you find people that really want to challenge what esports is and where to go next with it, that's when you know you've got someone that's worth having within the company. And yeah, hopefully I think everyone in my studio has somewhat of that philosophy.
Since you've mentioned hiring, can you tell us what positions are you hiring for, and do you accept international applications?
Yeah, we do. We're hiring a StarCraft 2 position. I won't say, because it's easy to figure out who that is. And we're also hiring a Dota 2 position. And then because with the studio, what I always try and do is every 3 months to make it better. Like have a 3-month plan, execute it, and then next 3 months up the production. So we're going much more into Dota 2, and we have a position. We're looking at a few people, so it's not completely decided, but the applicants have all won the job. And then also in StarCraft 2, we're actually looking for Apollo to have a really good co-commentator. Apollo right now, he's fantastic. You know, he loves solo. He's been doing it for almost all his life, if you ask his parents. But we're trying to find him someone that can sit on camera with him and actually create that duo with Apollo, because Apollo is very much, hey, I'm Apollo and I go and cast lots of different events with different people. It's not like a Tasteless Artosis duo or Rotterdam and Mr. Bitter, even though you don't really want that duo. Only joking, Roddy. But yeah, we want to get someone in with Apollo. So we have someone in mind, and seems like everything's in agreement, and we got a few more talks. But yeah, there are 2 first positions, and then later as we grow, we'll take a couple, no, not a couple, but something more management and kind of, I can't even remember the word for it now, but just the company processes, make sure the administration's going better.
So what you're saying is chemistry is definitely important between co-commentators.
Yeah, it is, and I think the best commentators are the ones that love the game and really stick with it, and it's the passion that you bring. And Apollo really doesn't have to do much in the house. Like whenever we all work, and we're like, Apollo, you just sit in your room and play StarCraft, because the more you play StarCraft, the more you watch StarCraft, the more you do all this StarCraft stuff, the better you'll be as a commentator. So I don't believe in employing a commentator and saying, we would like you to build desks for this event and plan the groups and the brackets. You know, we consult with Apollo about the groups and brackets to make sure he's happy with whatever tournament we're doing. Primarily by giving Apollo the room just to improve entirely as a commentator. That's been his strength from day one within the Good Studio. You can take a lot of jobs outside of the Good Studio as a commentator like Apollo could, and you could go to ESL, you could go to MLG, and they're paid the same or maybe even more, but they will require maybe more of you outside of your commentator role. And I always believe a good commentator will just focus on what he should be good at, and that's what Apollo's done, and I think he's done amazing with us and by himself as well. He's really had the passion and drive. So
you've also mentioned in another interview that, and I've used this quote multiple times throughout the DreamHack event, that today gaming communities are coagulating around the live streams, whereas a couple of years ago they would have focused around LAN parties. Since this is PGL TV, could you elaborate a little bit on that and maybe even talk about some of the essential elements of a successful live stream?
Oh, you sure I said that?
Yes.
I wasn't drunk or something? I don't remember it. But
I will send you the YouTube link.
But people are really focusing around the communities around live streams now. Yeah, it's true. Very wise words from past me. I think it was, definitely the community was first around websites, and then it got to a LAN stage, and yeah, live streaming is really where the communities are growing around a lot more in terms of talk shows for like State of the Game used to be, and The Good Show, and Live on Free with DJ Wheat, etc. I don't know, I just think it's a better form of entertainment and information. That's really the success of live streaming and where the community will go, because you get your entertainment if the guys are making sure the show's entertaining, guys or gals, and then the information that you give, if you're within esports and you live and breathe it, you should be able to at least have people leave your show understanding stuff. So I honestly believe that the steps for, sorry, I'm killing your microphone. I obviously believe the steps in a successful streaming and live streaming is all about entertainment. We love watching people play video games. Like that's just, we like the game. But what's much more important than the game itself are the people playing it. So how do you build the stories around the two guys in the game? Because the human connection and the understanding of what they're doing in competition, playing for prize money, maybe playing for their tournament life in the sense that if they lose, they might be out of their team. they're the real interesting stories, and then of course the game is the icing on the cake. So I believe that the entertainment side of things, in terms of the presentation of it, and also the storytelling of the people within our industry, is a lot more important than sometimes, well, I wouldn't say the results, because the results help the story, but than the actual tactics of what's happening in the game. You know, that's a development of how the game's going to develop, but the entertainment side is the development of the players and the commentators and the personalities and the hosts, and what information they're giving you about the leagues, and of course then again the players and everything else. So entertainment is, I don't do esports. When I talk about the Good Studio, we say we don't do esports, we do entertainment esports. And that's really been our philosophy from the beginning.
But what about the technical aspects? For instance, there are some people that will not watch if it's not HD, or if it's not high resolution, or if they're not certain, if it doesn't look pretty.
I don't think we really have that problem anymore in terms of internet. Like, I think people only really get annoyed when they have like a low quality stream when they're watching a game and they can't read the numbers of the supply or health and armor, etc. I think in terms of like talk shows, that's not really a problem. So I think the technology is here, and we're almost at Skynet, which is great. But yeah, I think it's fine. I don't think that's a problem.
So DreamHack Bucharest features tournaments in Counter-Strike, StarCraft 2, and League of Legends. I've heard you talk about League of Legends before, and you mentioned it's a great entry game for somebody that wants to become a pro gamer but doesn't want to deal with the high competitiveness of StarCraft, Counter-Strike. Do you still believe that? And since Counter-Strike and StarCraft are games that have lasted for very long and are still very popular, do you believe that League of Legends will have that same longevity?
I think it's still a great entry game for competitive gaming. I think if you want to be pro at StarCraft and you want to be pro at Quake, or you have to invest so much time that a lot of the younger gamers are used to like getting instant gratification, something back instantly from their time put in. And if you want to be good at StarCraft, as I said, or Quake or Counter-Strike, you have a long time to invest before you get something back, and you can even reach a pro level, and sometimes it's not even possible. Maybe, you know, just the way you think about the game and play, it might not even be possible to make it. I think League of Legends as a game, yeah, is the entry point for anybody that wants a instant gratification in terms of a quicker in, just because to me I find it apparent that the skill cap or the amount that you can express yourself in that game is lower than others. And it doesn't make it necessarily a bad game. It just makes it a very easy esporty game. So it's the easiest one to come into. But League of Legends longevity, one of the things I've seen with League of Legends is what Riot do. And unfortunately, I think Riot are approaching esports in a wrong way. I think they're investing more than they get ROI, and I think that they quite like and want to look the biggest, and it's their money, so do as they please. But I think that when you actually have an esport which grows from the community to the leagues to the event organizers to the main stage, you have a better ecosystem, because you've the community have helped with the process of shaping that as an esport, and that's really how Counter-Strike grew and how Quake grew and how the others grew. When you just put a price tag on a game to get into esports, how do you justify that price tag? Where's your ROI? What's coming back? And obviously free-to-play games are a great new way of doing esports, because every time Riot do an event, and you can go in-game for free, so you have that boundary taken away. If we watch a StarCraft 2 game, and someone hasn't seen it before, and they're like, that's interesting, and they go, I want to try it out, and they go, oh, by the way, it's €30 or something, it can stop that person from getting into the game, which is why Blizzard should make the multiplayer section of StarCraft free for everybody. And then, but when Riot do an event, everyone can come in-game for free, and they can also buy things because it's free to play and there's always something sellable. So in a way, they probably get the most return for their money because they're a free to play game and they always have something to sell. But I still don't think that how they've gone into esports is necessarily a ROI, which will create a good ecosystem within the game and the esports. I think it's a case of potentially just wanting to look the biggest and the best, because that's a business model to tell people you're successful, to do, to have that hype around your game. And that also can have a knock-on effect in terms of ROI. But I think actually, as the game I think it has a 3-year lifespan from now. So StarCraft 2, if you don't read Reddit, because Reddit says it's gonna die, but in terms of,
I read Reddit, but not the gaming section.
Okay. But in terms of these other games and the depth and what's going to happen, I think any good esport game should have a 5-year minimum lifespan. And I've worked on esport games before. I helped with Bloodline Champions. It wasn't my game in terms of design, but I got it into esports. And that game, it lacked depth at the end of the game. So the player base were learning it so fast, and then got to a point where it was almost kind of like, oh, we'll go back to World of Warcraft, because even though World of Warcraft wasn't what it was of its former self, it's still a deeper game because of all the different abilities and combinations and stuff. And I think people really like the learning experience when you're learning an esport game, and League of Legends, I feel, has a little bit less to it than Dota. So I see Dota sticking around for 5 years minimum. I see League of Legends, I'm estimating a 3-year lifespan. And the big problem Riot have, in my opinion, going forward, if they've spent all this money in year 1 and year 2 of the 2 different seasons, and then someone comes in and looks at the numbers and says, actually, we're spending too much, and then they decline, when the community sees a decline in their game or a decline, sometimes they just jump ships. And so that's why I always feel like the best way to grow esports is from grassroots, build it up, and let it get to the size that the community wants it. StarCraft 2 has got to the biggest size because the community have made it that size. Quake didn't get this big because the community wasn't that big pushing Quake. Counter-Strike, if it was now, if Counter-Strike was a newer game now, it would have been probably bigger than StarCraft 2. And Bloodline Champions, the game I worked on, got to a size where it was like, okay, we get 2 LANs a year, almost Star Ladder, so 6 LANs a year and some online tournaments, but that's all it needs to be as an esport, because it doesn't have to be bigger than that. So I'd be interested to see what happens with Riot and League of Legends. But for the moment, it's, as I said, the game's good. It brings in lots of people in terms of introduction, but I do worry about how they're going about esports, as opposed to how esports has grown naturally with the community and the members from years ago.
Any new games that we should keep an eye on, in the sense that in the future those will be the big games in esports?
I think esports only has a few places in terms of genres of games. Obviously, we've got our MOBA, multiplayer online battle arena, which is a horrible name, which is basically Dota. So we have a few of those. We have our 1v1 RTS, which is StarCraft 2. We have our, I would call a team RTS more the kind of Dota. And then we have our team FPS, which is meant to be Counter-Strike Go, but we have to really see how the community feels about that as a game. I know all the pros want it to succeed because they want to stay in esports, and if you don't have a game to play, it's hard to be a professional gamer. And then 1v1 is something that's really not filled the market. So in terms of games to look out for, I really think FPS needs to step up. I'm actually working on a game called Reborn, which is a 1v1 FPS game to replace potentially what Quake Live had, an updated version of Quake. In terms of Quake Live was just basically Quake 3 put into a browser with a few tweaks, and it didn't really take it to the next level. So I can only really see FPS games coming in as a big-time esports. Everything has the potential to be an esport if it's good and has competitive features and there's a community behind it. I know some games that are being made that are quite fun. They're being published by Paradox. There's one called Showdown Effect, and it's just, I don't know how much I can say about it, but it looks like it could be fun and competitive, but in a very small way for esports. So in terms of seeing a new esport game, I don't think we'll see anything for a couple of years. And I even struggle to see how good Counter-Strike Go will be. The development team really needs to start listening to the community. One of the biggest problems with why we don't have that many good esport games is because the developers don't, in my opinion, from my experience as well, the developers don't work closely enough with the esports communities because we're the guys that broke their game in a way. Like, we found out ways to play it that they didn't really design. We found out how to push it. And when we get to that level and we get that understanding of the game, when we get to that feeling, we can break it down quite easily in terms of why it's good, why this is bad. And game developers, if they want to, there is no real esport game developer out there. There's no company that really says, we're an esport game developer. Blizzard aren't, Riot aren't, Valve aren't. It's just, so I think that the connection between a game developer and esports professionals or community members, etc., when that gets closer, we'll see a lot better, healthy, ingest of esport games. And I think that an esport game has a much longer longevity to it than any other game in the world. If you play a single-player game, it has a time limit almost on it, and when you get to play against opponents from all over the world and they challenge you in terms of your strategy, your skill, your experience, that's something that you can repeat on a daily basis and never get bored of. So esports has become hot shit. A lot of game developers are throwing out the word esports into any game that's competitive, but they really fail to understand the importance of matchmaking and maybe a tournament system and a proper spectator UI. Because World of Tanks calls itself in esports. They came to Valencia, but they don't even have a spectator UI. So they made a competitive game with tanks, and that's great. It can be an esport in its own essence, but they haven't invested. Well, they probably are now, but they haven't planned for any important tools, which hopefully esports should have taught the rest of the world, right? If you come see a StarCraft event or you come see anything, you're like, okay, there's a spectator UI, or there's this going on, and there's this ability for an observer, and there's this and this. These are things that we need to take into account, and game developers, either through budgets or just ignorance, don't develop their games in a way that they can really deserve to say we are an esport game.
So they're not really thinking about the interaction between people who are not actually playing and the game. Like, we're circling back to the idea of live streaming.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can design things in your game that can make it so much better at live streaming as well, in terms of creating games where communication between the team is key. And so when you live stream, you have a natural conversation, but it's much more, if you want people to play against other people in a multiplayer environment, fucking make tools so they can, that encourage them to do so. Matchmaking, tournament systems, like everyone's like, oh yeah, Battle.net is great. It's only great because it's big and it has this access to be big. But what actually Battle.net offers, its StarCraft 2 professionals in Battle.net, is really, really shit. I mean, I think Red Eye introduced Battle.net as being something great to Dustin Browder at the Valencia Esports Summit, and I just sat there and I was just like, it's just absolute crap, because it just allows the bare minimum. And you could have tournaments within Battle.net. Let's say, like me and you, we're in bronze, right? Because we're fucking awesome. We're bronze. We're in bronze, and if we want to get involved in esports and we're bronze players, we have to go and find some community website where we can actually compete. And that involves 1 step, you got to leave Battle.net. 2 steps, you got to find the website. 3 steps, you got to sign up. 4 steps, you got to set the email. 5 steps, you got to turn up on time. 6 steps, you got to make sure your opponent's there. 7 steps, you've got to report the game and hope he applies it. And it's just a really shit way to introduce people into esports by doing that. But Battle.net, if they wanted to, they could be like, hey guys, we're going to make a tournament system. On Tuesday, we accept bronze players only in a tournament, and every 64 players that turn up, we make a bracket. You'll play for 4 to 5 hours until there's a winner, and the winner of that game will get some sort of something within Battle.net to show they've won a bronze tournament. And then after that player wins maybe 5 bronze tournaments, he gets promoted and is able to play in the silver tournaments. And then you have this natural progression for people similar to football, where you can just play with your mates in your back garden or just kick a ball around, and then go to a club and then go up and up and up until you're in the Premier League. And you could do that with StarCraft. You could say, here's some bronze tournaments, and then people will be like, oh, this guy's winning a lot. He goes to silver, destroys that, goes up and up and up, and then all of a sudden he's able to kind of say, I am winning tournaments, because ladder doesn't mean shit in StarCraft, because you play, because the tournament should be like a best of 3. In ladder, you play a best of 1, right? And so you can come out with a cheese tactic, or you can maybe, if you know another professional player streaming, you can dodge him if you don't want to play him, you don't want to lose points. So ladder is absolute crap. The whole point of esports and tournaments is a true way of saying if you are better or worse than the opponents in there. And so you could have a best of 3 tournament system within Battle.net that could really nurture the smaller leagues and just grow and get all these different storylines and bring more players up to this level. Because if I was if I owned a team, if I was like in charge of Fnatic and this one guy was winning like every single Masters tournament, I'd be like, okay, he's got an up-and-coming chance. I'll sign him, give him some support, you know, let him train with my other members of Fnatic, for example, and then potentially he might enter the Grandmaster tournaments, and then we might end up sending him to a DreamHack. But there's no way to find that kid. There's no way to... Blizzard could make it so easy, so no one's doing it properly. None of the game developers are esport game developers. I'm very unimpressed and very angry about how badly they all do it.
Game developers, take notice. James Harding is angry.
I'm the commissioner of esports. I will uncommission your games.
So one final question. Where are you headed after this? What future esports events are you excited for? And where can your fans find you and stalk you?
I never promote my Twitter, so I won't do that. But after this, I think I'm going back just to the house, to the Good Studio, which is on Twitch TV. So twitch.tv/TheGoodStudio. We're going to get some content out and then just basically get ready for DreamHack Winter. The Good Studio will be involved in production this DreamHack Winter to hopefully give DreamHack Winter a kind of a bigger finish for the year, which is always something we talk to them about at the beginning of the year, because we've been involved in terms of not all the planning, but we've always... DreamHack are great, they allow us to put in input, so we're looking to try and get a big finish with them for DreamHack Winter at the end of the year, which will be great. And I don't think I'm going to MLG Dallas yet, but I might be. And other than that, I'm going to the pub for 10 o'clock. Someone's taking me around Old Town in Romania. That's 10.
Well, you should not have put out that information, but you've heard...
That's fine.
You've heard it here first, folks. Well,
buy me a drink. Buy me a drink.
Well then, okay, have lots of fun. I hope Bucharest will be very kind to you. And have...
More fun. More fun and alcohol. Yeah, Bucharest has been great. I'm really happy to be here in Romania. So having a great time, and I hope everybody enjoys the event. And I really hope that DreamHack come back here, because Romania really deserves more of this, because they've turned out and they've been a great audience.
That is a great note to end this interview. Thank you very much.
No problem.